Yeah, who are you again?
Grant. I play the Liberator. You know Bertie, the little the little butler at the Macaulay house, and Jared, the bartender in the Need One. I played both of those characters, and also the driver of the Land Coach.
Oh, that's good. Wow. So doing a western then? I mean,
It's a stretch.
yeah.
All right, what do we want to know?
Everything.
Everything. What's the one thing you really shouldn't tell us
Yeah.
about season 2? And then tell us.
We won't tell anybody.
Please promise.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to think. What can I give you? Kevin already gave away more than I thought we were allowed to, which is amazing. Kevin, by the way, always does that. He goes, okay, whatever you do, don't say X, and then he gets so excited he tells everybody. I love it. It's fantastic. He says, I'm not going to tell you what happens, and then that night he'll go, okay, I'm going to. And you're like, I haven't said anything in between, not a word. What can I tell you that I shouldn't? I can tell you that I can tell you my boy goes rogue.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the Earth Republic is invaded and invaded recently, right?
Doesn't have to wear a badge anymore.
Yeah. You get the Charger still at least?
Dude, I go beyond the Charger.
Do you find you and Dave Tack more together?
Really?
Yeah, no, he's back to not having to share his toys or play nicely with the other kids, which is good. We had him on the chain a lot last season, so, being the lawkeeper, and having to answer to the town council and the mayor, that happened very quickly for my liking. We always hear all this stuff about Nolan, how, what a badass he was, but he's having to be such a nice guy.
Yeah.
So every opportunity they give me in the first part of this next season, I'm going to create carnage. You won't. Oh my God! Like whatever KM writes, it's going 10 times further. You're going to have one of those cases. At the bottom of the screen, you got the body count, like that. All right. I'm going to get my licks in while I can.
Yeah, right.
That's what I can tell you.
I'm going to see more of the backstory. I mean, is some of that history going to come back? Because we've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in Defiance right now. And
Well, that's the thing, and that's another reason why kind of metaphorically blowing up the town is really good for us. Is we get to take it away from the town for a while. And even for those who are still in and around Defiance, it's not all around what's best for Defiance and what's better for Defiance. Our characters have all got their hands off Defiance, so we can do a lot more of it. We can explore a lot more of the backstory. We can also figure out a lot more about what makes them tick. And the beautiful thing about what he's done between season 1 and season 2 is we all know who they are now, what they want, what they dream about, who they don't want you to know they are, but they are. And now what we've done is we've gone, great, got all that, and then we've pulled it all away from all of them. So they all have to start again, in whatever way that is.
Now, do you think there's going to be a reset button at some point where you become back to being the lawkeeper and everything goes back? Or is it going to be continuing evolution?
I don't see a reset.
Really?
I don't see how you could come back into it being the same. But, it's interesting because Defiance does continue to mirror, if you like, the greater world in a lot of ways for me, as an audience, as well as a storyteller. And, there have been periods in the history of this country, There's, the War of the Revolution and then the Civil War.
Yeah.
Where everything gets torn away, the structure gets pulled down, and then it gets rebuilt. Is it a reset? Never. She's go down to Georgia and ask them if it's a reset. Right?
You think
No reset.
It's never going to be like the same again.
It's never going to be the same again. So, that's what we have is this constant evolution. Where does Defiance go? I don't know. Season 1 we had this idea of how do we create a democracy when we have human nature, which is tyranny. Daytag, got his hands on that council for 5 minutes flat, and we all knew what was coming there. It wasn't going to be Roosevelt, it was going to be Stalin, you know what I mean? So, you look at that round table, and it was not going to be the happy guy. It wasn't going to be Churchill either. So, you have that leaning towards tyranny. Now what we have is the takeover, if you like, that being colonised.
Yeah.
So we get to explore that for a while. I don't know how we come back from it. But what I do know is if and when Nolan comes back from the Badlands, he's not going to be looking to play the same part. Not in any way, shape or form. I think that's done.
Wow, that's a great evolution. I like that.
So your character kind of started out as kind of a reluctant hero. He didn't really want to do the job. He didn't really want to do the right thing, and then he kind of got forced to doing the right thing. Then he kind of embraced it, and then it's taken away. I mean, how do you view your character as going through that, and what's in his mind, and what's he going to do now? He had finally embraced something.
It's interesting. I think it'd take a hell of a lot to get him back to Defiance, to be honest. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how we get him to back to Defiance at the moment. I can tell you that truthfully. But I know that we start with him as far away from the idea of going back to Defiance as you can imagine. That's a break. You know, with a guy like that, there is no reason to go back to Defiance. Yeah. He did give it a go. And he's a pragmatist above everything else, and a fatalist.
So obviously, sci-fi and Triad, they all have put so much money in there for you as a person. So you could basically be sure that there would be a second season. So how does that feel working for you? Is it different than on any other show?
With feeling secure?
Yeah.
I don't know. To be honest, I didn't feel very secure. Like when we were launching a game and a show within 2.5 weeks of each other, when you launch a TV show, your odds of success to non-success are like 92% non-success, 8% success. And when you're launching a video game, it's about the same. When you go to launch both simultaneously, you square the chances of both not succeeding. That was terrifying. For me. Regardless of whether I thought I might have a job on the other end of it or not, that's kind of not what drives me. Limping along doesn't drive me, believe me. So it was quite terrifying. The fact that the game's up and running and is doing really well, and the show has been as successful as it is, that's fantastic. But see, even then, I don't see that as like.
Feel secure at all.
It's not about feeling secure. It's like, okay, how do we have the best conversation we can with our audience? How do we take this idea of synergy and exploit it even more? How do we move this forward? You know, how do we use this opportunity of having a video game and a show and all this social media, by the way, and the sci-fi sync and the third screen experience? How do we start to mix all of these ingredients together in a way that we've never seen before again? How do we take another step forward? How do we have more content? How do we do more synergy? That's what I'm intrigued about. Now that we have an online game universe, how do we start to utilize the politics of that game universe and bring them into a scripted drama? I've never seen that before.
So, I mean, because I saw we're talking about the game, and I saw you on Fallon talking about how much you love gaming. So, you know, as being part of a show that has such a deep mythology that we only get to see 13 hours of, like, how excited are you to be able to see all that other stuff? And do you go into the game and kind of under a different name? Do you play and you run around?
Just tell us your name in the game.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you my name in the game.
Leroy Jenkins.
No, but I wish.
Everybody would be hunting him because they got him.
I tell you, I still every now and again play that Leroy Jenkins video.
I love that clip.
It's just the funniest YouTube clip in the history of the universe. Oh my God, what a bonehead! What a bonehead! How could you get that famous around the world for being such a bonehead? What was it? Barbecue wings? What was he on about? I had a barbecue.
Something like that.
Yeah, something about barbecue. Right at the end, and you're like, Leroy, die. I run under the game in between. Look, what was the question?
Like,
I will get this question.
how great is it to be able to, you know, explore and spend more time in a world that we only get 13 episodes of? And obviously you're very into it.
I love it. Look, I love it. I love our mythology. I dive into the game regularly, and to be honest, it's kind of like in some respects, how I use Twitter or any other social media or forums on the show. Is I'll dive in and I'll listen to what people are saying. And it's great, you know, the biggest advantage of being a storyteller in television and or gaming is you can actually listen to your audience. If you stop talking, you can listen. and you know, that's where I get really excited. Is going into the game and listening to the gamers, listening to their feedback, listening to what they're thinking. And you know, and the ones that tweak me are the ones who are playing the game and watching the show. That blows my mind. I'd love to see more of that in between seasons. You know, I think it'll do us a great service. But yeah, I love getting in the roller. You know, like I could literally go get in my roller in the game in between seasons, and I'm the only person in the world who has that experience because I get to use the roller on season 2. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you very much.